Hi, and welcome to episode 44 of the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host, and I want to say happy birthday to the show. We are officially 1 year old today on February 22nd. And I just wanted to say thank you to each and every one of you that watch, listen, like, and subscribe, and all that craziness, and that have been so supportive with your words and your action over the last year. I've had an absolute blast, made so many friends, seen so much good music here in this city, and there's so much more to come. So today's episode is wonderful. First, let's start with a quick rundown of who's playing this week. It's again a lot. This covers February 22nd through the 27th. And here we go. So Tuesday, today, the 22nd, Charlie Crockett is at the Oscar Blues Brewery. Barbara Nesbitt is at the New World Deli. Again, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm really struggling. David Ramirez is at the O4 Center. On the 23rd, that's Thursday, Love and Chaos is at Geraldine's. Mary Gaucher is doing the Darden Smith show at the Stateside at the Paramount called Who Said You Could Do That, where he sits up there and interviews her, and that's going to be really good. On the 24th, Brian Wolff, my guest today, is at the Culinary Dropout. Bree Bagwell is at Buck's Backyard. And my pal Ben Jones is doing the happy hour over there at Don's Depot. So lovely that Ben is back in town. I got to give him a hug the other day. Shout out to sweet Ben. The 25th is Saturday, and Patrice Pike is over at Antone's. West Texas Exiles is going to bring the house down at Saxon Pub. Jordan Matthew Young is at the White Horse, and same on Saturday still, the Dead Coats are at the Hole in the Wall. On Sunday, you have Ginger Lee at Antone's, Jackie Venson at the Mohawk, Jane Leo at their Hotel Vegas residency. I need to get to that show. These guys are ridiculous, Jane Leo. And Guy Forsyth, friend of the show, is at Long Play Lounge. And lastly, Monday, the 27th, Jamie Harris. We love her. She's an Austin girl, but she lives in Nashville. But guess what? She has a new album out. She's going to be at Waterloo Records, I bet, playing from some songs from that. Brian Wolff, my guest again today, he does a Monday night residency at the Driscoll. You have the Monday Night Supper Club that happens every week. Sometimes the roster changes a little bit and they add a guest, but Pat Byrne, Ben Jones, and Barbara Nesbitt are the core. I think Pat's on tour, but I think Ben and Barbara will definitely be there. Not sure who their guest is. Bob Schneider has a Monday night residency at the Saxon Pub, and our friend Erica Michelle is playing at Geraldine's. That does it for the rundown for this week. That's a lot. Guys, my guest today is Brian Wolff. And if you do not love him and adore him, I pretty much promise you that you will by the time that you watch this episode, this conversation. I'll give you some highlights. After a trifecta of loss in 2020, he sort of had a come to Jesus with himself and his music. And the result was a reset of how he was going to approach his music career and if he was going to get serious about it. And I will say he definitely got serious about it. So fast forward to now, he's in the studio with Frenchie Smith at the Bubble, recording a new EP, super excited and stoked about it. You can feel the happiness coming through the screen. He's just, gosh, I feel like I'm gushing. He just is so down to earth and so real. Not only does that come across in our conversation, but he is a fantastic songwriter with a beautiful voice, and it comes across in that too. So enjoy my conversation with Brian Wolff. He is wonderful. I'm so happy to have him on my 1 year anniversary episode of the Austin Downbeat. And I won't keep talking anymore. I'll just let you enjoy the show. So here's Brian Wolff.
All
Great.
right.
Brian Wolff, thank you for joining the show. I'm so happy to meet you finally. I feel like it's been a while. I've been watching you.
Well, it's really good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, not in a creepy stalker way, but just in a
No, of course not.
very
Of course not.
loving way. Yeah, I've been listening to your music, and then you did this stripped down version of the Punch, and I was like, oh man, God, I really genuinely love your voice. And I
Oh, thank you.
love sometimes sometimes there's like this perfect marriage between how a voice sounds and the style of music that they kind of end up jiving with and end up singing. And I just feel like yours meets so beautifully. It's hard to
Oh,
describe unless it's like not in line, but I feel like it really accentuates the tone of your voice, which is so unique, to all of
that's really nice to hear. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, I mean it so genuinely. Um, I was listening to your stuff, like I said, and I was curious how I don't love throwing labels and genre labels on people, but I understand that it's necessary to do that. But when I'm first listening to someone, I sort of, the first thing that comes up is like, what is it bringing up for me as an individual in my own musical journey as a child of the 80s? And then, landing in Santa Barbara at 18 and the Santa Barbara music scene in sort of the very early or mid 90s. What was popular then? And it was very interesting because like your voice combined with the range of your style, like I'm hearing all kinds of stuff and I'm loving it all. What talk a little bit about the meat on that bone, like who
Well,
you are musically.
yeah, it's interesting because I feel like there's people people like naturally do that, right? They want to
Yeah,
categorize things. They and that's like a really cool thing. Um, and like it's like interesting for me to like think about how I like think about the music, how I would categorize it.
yeah.
And then someone else might say, "Oh, you sound like the Killers," and I'm like, "I don't think I do," but that's cool. Like I've heard that. I've heard like Manchester Orchestra like a lot lately,
Oh
which I love
wow.
that band. But like
Yeah,
it's maybe it's just my voice. I'm not sure what's what the deal is with that, but it's a really interesting thing when people interpret this stuff in vastly different ways. But I mean, I think it all comes back to, okay, well, if you're doing that, that means that you like listened hard, like it brought you in and you really listened and like
yeah,
it brought you that far enough to like want to compare it to something that you like, which is like really flattering, I think,
yeah.
as opposed to like trying to control how people interpret the music. But some of my heroes, one of them is definitely a guy I'm going to see tomorrow night, the Moody Center. Bruce Springsteen, big fan of his.
Yeah.
I've got his poster behind me.
Yeah, you do.
But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's just huge fan of his, really excited about that show. And but I mean I listened to like all kinds of like, I would say there was that whole phase of like garage rock and like the Strokes and
Mhm.
like that kind of White Stripes, Black Keys, like all that kind of stuff. That was like a
Yeah,
phase for like a long time, and I still love those bands. But I think that shaped some of it. I think I like when I was really falling in love with music as like a 15-year-old, I was really finding like grunge. I was going back to like the early 90s stuff and like just really getting into like Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff. And like it's interesting because like I definitely don't write grunge music, but it's like
It's in
it
there.
all yeah, it all feeds that. There's some sort of aggression that comes from that I think is in there. But it's just kind of like I'm a huge music fan. First, I think that's kind of what I always say,
Yeah.
because that's just so true. And it's really not like one specific genre or anything.
No.
But I think it's just kind of a blend of everything that
Yeah.
I've listened to and taken in.
Yeah. You're kind of like I can hear the rock and the power, and then I can hear, the story of like what would be like folky and that kind of vibe. That's some of my favorite artists are like you, where it's like, and I think that that's becoming more popular. I think maybe you can back that up or not, but I feel like this sort of, breaking that old tradition of, being a pop artist, being a blues artist is really kind of being broken open wide. And society and culturally, we're able to widen our net a bit and not really need that done for us,
I
like we're
I think so.
maturing.
I think it, say what you will about like streaming apps and what they pay musicians and stuff. I mean, that's whatever. That's a totally different topic, but I think, a good thing that's come from that is people can so easily check out music that they like wouldn't normally listen to, and like check out a different genre and like get into something. Like they see, oh, somebody won this Grammy or something, oh, let me go listen to that album. And like I do that sometimes, and it's like, never heard of that person, let me go check it out. And then you end up listening to a new genre and you take that in, and like I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of people doing that, and maybe getting more open to like a mix of things, as opposed to like, I think when I was a kid it was like, if you liked metal, you didn't like anything else was just weak, you know
Right.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's like all in, all my
Yeah.
chips. Yeah.
If you liked pop, that's all you liked. Like you didn't like anything with like loud guitars in it, it was like. But now I think people are more open to maybe it's just like the age group that I'm in, people are getting more open to
Yeah.
things, but I think people, it usually goes the other way as people get older, I think, but I don't know.
I
Who
know, I
knows?
know. I definitely feel myself, again, I'm 40, I just turned 47. And so I'm like full on 80s, like music of the 80s was happening right as I was just absolutely falling in love with music and in my room with my boombox that I got when I was 11. And I was just like, yes, and this is
Yes.
this is my sanctuary and these are my cassettes and this is where I go to process through music all the things that are happening in my head and my heart. um, and I feel like I have some old tendencies to be like scared to spend time on something new. I feel like my time is precious, and I don't love that about myself. I don't love that I'm so precious with my time, and in listening to something new or watching something that I might not like. I'm very conscious of that and I'm trying to be better about it. But I feel like I'm surrounded by a society that's really encouraging that. And I think like Spotify or whatever, one thing I do love about Spotify, I hate their the payment plan for you
Yeah, yeah,
guys.
yeah.
But I do love the algorithm, how it like you could put on like John Mayer radio, and then you're hearing all these other people that you're like, I've never even heard of this person before, but I'm digging it. So that's a good piece. They just need to figure out how to pay you guys more.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I mean, obviously there's a lot of conversations about that.
Yeah,
But it's I mean, as a fan though, I love it. Like, so I can't sit here and complain
I
about it.
know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I love turning on Discover Weekly
Yeah,
every Monday morning, and then just listening to that throughout the week, and like and taking like whatever song that they suggest that I might like based on like what I listen to all the time.
yeah,
And like, maybe I'll pick one or two and save them on a playlist, and then those are like bands that I like now, and I'll check out the rest of their stuff. And it's like I love that part. It kind of like funnels you into this like exploration thing, and
yeah,
like you're probably gonna like it. you know,
yeah. You're a
it's
very
it's really cool.
responsible music listener. I feel like if everyone were that way, the scenery might be, or the soil of it might be a little bit different, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I just I love music. I love hearing new stuff, and I think like it, especially when I hear somebody that I like talk about their influence or something, it's like,
Mm,
oh, well, I got to go listen to that now. It's like
yeah,
almost like digging into like genealogy of music. It's
yeah,
kind of an
I
interesting
love
thing.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
where it's like, teach me. I hear that a lot on the show where people will talk about people, and I'm just like, let me write that down because I'm gonna want to dive in and go down a rabbit hole for that, you
for
know?
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about your journey and path musically. obviously you're in Austin, but are you from here or where are you from?
I'm from upstate New York, actually.
Oh,
Really,
sweet.
really small town up there. I
What's
mean,
it
I
called?
guess relative to Austin, it's called Binghamton, New York.
Oh yeah, yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
of Binghamton. I'm from
yeah.
Erie, Pennsylvania.
That's all. That's not far. It's not far at all. What is that? An hour away? Something like that.
Probably, yeah. Well, I was born
That's
there
cool.
and I left when I was 18 and moved to California, but 18 formidable years up there on the lake.
Oh yeah. So I mean, you get it, but maybe some of your listeners don't know what upstate New York is because I feel like I run into that all the time where people
Yeah.
think I'm like from a big city, but
Uh-uh.
and it's like no, no, no.
Yeah.
Like it's just all like farmlands and wide open spaces and towns with a couple traffic lights. Like it's small town America. I mean, that's where I'm
Mhm.
from and it's so it's kind of interesting to have grown up there and um, been in like school band and like I was in a garage band in high school and then like eventually started kind of a bar band in college, like in Binghamton. And yeah, it was kind of interesting like to really cut my teeth there.
Mhm.
But I knew kind of pretty quick that I like knew that like once I started to play out and started to get gigs up there, it seemed like the ceiling was kind of like you couldn't really get too far being in a smaller town like that. So I knew I wanted to go somewhere where music was just such a huge part of the culture. And so I looked at New York City because obviously like it's right there, but so expensive, and I didn't want like to fall into that thing I heard about a lot with people like, oh, like I got to work 3 jobs, and I don't have time to play music anymore.
Right.
It's like I don't
Yeah.
didn't want that. And Austin was like way cheaper, and I already knew a few people that made the move here, and
Oh, sweet.
so I wanted to go try it, and just kind of lived in the Binghamton area my whole life, and I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go try something, and ended up here, and just I've been here 10 years now, which is
Nice.
wild, but
Me too. Me
cool.
too. In May. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I love it here.
Yeah. Same. Same. How was that received with your family and friends and your support group? I mean, you had a nice, solid, rooted, time up there. Did you feel supported in doing that or?
I think the people that were really important to me, and like I was truly important to them, I think they were really supportive of it. I think
Yeah.
which I'm really thankful for. There were some people that were just like, "Oh, you'll be back," so
That's what
those people.
everybody said to me in high school when I was
Yeah,
graduating. They're like, "You'll be back." I was
yeah. Everybody always comes back. Nobody ever gets out. It's like, all right, well, we'll see.
like, "See."
Yeah, I'm gonna go try a thing, and
Yeah.
yeah, still here, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you feel because, there's such a fabric of community in varying degrees as far as, the scene here. I mean, there you have the people that have been here for a really long time that are just like, you know, legendary in this town and you see them out, it's not like they think they're a big deal too. It's like you see them at the Continental Club or whatever, but they're such pillars of this music community and family. And I feel like, there's multiple sort of layers to that fabric. And that's why I love doing the show. And I love talking to people that are kind of woven in there. And I feel like, um, are you feeling that 10 years deep in here? From my perspective, I feel like you are in that community from what I see and hear, and that you're so embraced by it. But what does it feel like from your side?
It's hard to know where you sit in a scene full of incredible musicians. It's like I don't know. Like I just hope that I can keep feeling like I belong here. Like that was
Yeah,
kind of the first thing was like
yeah.
seeing someone write it like this thing I've been doing like my whole life is play guitar and like I get to Austin and I see this guy Eric Tesmer. I don't know if you're familiar with
I
him. Yeah,
love Eric Tesmer. Yeah,
yeah. But he was like
insane.
one of my first nights out was seeing that guy play
You're
at
like,
Friends
oh
Bar,
shit.
and I was like, well, do I just quit?
I pack my bags now or after the
Yeah.
show?
And it was just like I'd never seen something like that before. I thought I was pretty good. Like
Yeah.
not that like not that that like totally shattered me, and like I think I realized pretty quickly like we all have our like place
Lanes.
we can find. Yeah, like there's the monster guitar shredder like Eric, and then there's like my lane that I finally have kind of figuring out that I'm finding is like writing songs and like really trying to be the best I can at that, and delivering them emotionally, and like that's kind of what I try to, and just be as true to myself as possible. But
Yeah.
like it took me a while to realize, okay, I don't need to shred like that. That can be his thing, and
You
that's
don't need
fine.
to like rip out strings and play behind your back.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love that, but
I love
that
it too.
doesn't need to be everybody.
No, that's good that you were able to kind of find stasis and remember who you are. And I think that that's in any kind of artistic endeavor, right? It's like, of course, the scenery and the people around you, especially in this town, is going to be, it's just information. It's just information. And at the end of the day, you got to remember who you are because you're special just like they are, period.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it after a while, it's just like not even really worth comparing yourself. I
No,
think that's
yeah,
just like the most detrimental thing you can do to your art.
yeah.
Which is, I get pretty leery about like musical contests. Like even there, I won't say where, but there's a place that like has this showcase once a month or so, and they like randomly started adding a cash prize to like being the best. But it used to be just everybody would show up and play, and like I really liked that, and now I don't like it. It's weird. It's like a weird thing, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like it kind of forces us into this pretty ugly thing, in my opinion, of just like, oh, that is better than that, and it's like, how do
So
we say that?
subjective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we can say that might fit this scene or this listener better. I mean, that's a pretty productive thought, but like, you know, um, it's like, oh, this kind of music would fit this sort of bar, whatever. Like that's totally understandable, and I think probably valid. But like the whole like this type of music or this person is better than this, and they play wildly different music. It's like, what? How do you even say that?
Apples and oranges. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like it's unfortunately tapping into sort of that part of our humanity, right? That
yeah.
loves competition and a winner, you know. Um yeah. Well, I'm so glad that you've reached that place. And I think it's very valuable for people to hear you say that, to remind people. I think that's really valuable. There's so many people doing what you do in this town, and it's probably hard at times to not to put the blinders up, especially with social media.
Oh yeah,
That in
it's
and of
designed
itself is
to get
just
us to think like
designed to
that.
make you just nauseous.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's like everybody's just presenting themselves as like doing amazing, even if they're like having a
Struggling.
really hard time, and it's like that's tough. I mean that trickles into everybody, every part of life. Everybody kind of does that in a way, but I think musicians especially do that, where it
Mhm.
just like working on something awesome, and like I it's like you can't see like that, like there's just some really hard things going on too, and I think like it's something that I try to work on being a little bit more honest and real about, but there's also just an element of like I've got my friends to talk to about stuff like that. Like I can
Yeah.
keep focused on like these are some good things to talk about. I go to therapy too. I've got that place to talk about the hard stuff. Like I don't need to take that to social media, but it's
Mhm.
I also don't want to sit here and always pretend like things are just going amazing all the time, and you
Yeah.
know, like I think that's what a lot of people do, and or they'll do the opposite to get attention. you know, um,
Oh, yeah. And
and
just air it all.
yeah, yeah,
And you're like, okay. Yeah.
yeah. So it's tough. I think you're right though. It is a human nature thing to want to compare. But I think
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that valuable in what we do.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I agree. What's going really well for you right now, professionally?
Well, um, I've been able to I after like some stuff went down in 2020 in my personal life and like all that, I kind of recommitted to doing music full time.
Wow.
And kind of like with that whole mystery of like I don't know when we're even going to be able to do gigs again. Like still like
Yeah.
because I got laid off, my band split up, like my relationship ended kind of all within um a few months of each
Oh,
other, and it was just kind of like,
a
what
lot.
is life right now? What's happening? But it just felt like a okay, well, if I'm gonna like recommit to this, like I know I want to do,
Yeah.
and I feel like this is what I really am supposed to be doing. This
Yeah.
is the time. This is the time to kind of go through a rebirth in a way, and try to focus on like what do I want this time around? Like it felt like a reset of like what were some stuff that I did before that like I didn't really like, what did I like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And um I within with my old band we connected with this guy Frenchie Smith, um
Mhm.
and he's a producer in town, just an incredible producer, and
Mhm.
he wanted to work with that band, and then we were kind of at the tail end of our existence and we just didn't have enough songs. We didn't really have like the energy as a group to do it. Like we weren't ready for it. But this opportunity dropped out of the sky, and like part of my brain was just like, we have to try, we have to try this thing. This guy's incredible.
He
He
is,
wants to work
yeah.
with us. Like it's like but I thought that opportunity was gone. But when I kind of started to write my own stuff and focus on that, I hit him up and just said like, "Hey, I've got this new thing going on. I know you wanted to work with that band. Are you still into it?" And he's like, "Send me the songs," and I did. And he's like, he was just really, really into these
Mhm.
crappy demos that I sent him, and it was like, "I really believe in this."
Aw.
And kind of fast forward to right now, we're working on our second EP with him,
That's
with my new
awesome.
project, and that's the thing that's going really well right now. Is like everything kind of built up, I think, to this EP that
Mhm.
we're working on right now. It feels like such a new level of my
Mhm.
music in a way that I've never heard it before and never felt before in a studio. It just feels
Oh,
like this is like I loved the Punch EP. I like really
yeah. It's a great
for it.
EP.
Thank you so much. I had a great time recording that, and I'm really proud of that. But there's something about this new one that just like I just can't wait for to put this out.
If you had to pick just a few words to sort of describe, I know you're in this feeling right now where it's probably almost hard to like attach words to it, but I know there are words in there. Like how would you describe the feeling? I mean, I can feel it kind of coming through the screen of just
Yeah.
how happy you are. And it makes my heart so happy that you're experiencing this. And Frenchie is, I don't know him personally, but I have talked and listened to so many people on this show talk about this man that I'm going to have him on or ask him if he would like to come on. But I'm going to force
Yeah.
him to come on.
Yeah, please. That'd be
But
great.
I know what you're talking about. Like when he believes in you, you feel like you're floating probably. So like how would you describe just the sense that like when you're in the studio, what does that feel like for you?
Uh well, I'll say it's a kind of a different experience for me in that like usually I like consider myself like sort of like the captain of what we're doing as a band,
Hmm.
and like in the studio with Frenchie, it's like, well, we're working with him because he is like really, really good at this and like totally understands the vision that I'm going for. And it's like this whole sort of interesting thing of like just trusting this person, like, you know
Oh.
what I mean? Like, and like, but knowing like that, especially this second time, being so much more comfortable with it because the first one was so awesome,
Yeah,
in my opinion. Like, not that I'm not like
it was
saying
everybody. It was
whatever. I'm
amazing.
not trying to brag about my music or anything, but like, I meant that that experience was awesome and I'm proud of it. But this time around, it's like, well, I think we just have more trust in each other, and there's just
Mhm.
more. Uh, just lining up of like what our ideas are about these songs, and like I think he just gets it. I think we just come from a pretty similar place, like as fans of music. So it's like a lot of ideas that we say to each other, just sort of like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Let's do that. Like there's not,
Yeah.
it's like kind of a great situation. And I think that's like the thing is just like, not only is he like good at, he's obviously really good at what he does, but there's a lot of people that are really good at what they do. Like,
Mhm.
but he just, we just connect, and then I think that's just really important to be working with people that you connect with. And that goes with my band too. I mean, they're just great. There's a lot of trust there with those guys, and like just that we're all on the same team. We've got the same vision. We're trying to make this happen, and there's just something to be said for working with the right people, and creating with your friends. I mean, they're all
Yeah.
my friends at this point.
Yeah, let's give your bandmates a shout out and name them for everybody so they know who they are.
Absolutely. Tim Moen plays bass.
Mhm.
Joe Valadez plays drums, and Scott Blanco plays guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And so those it's Brian Wolff and the Howlers. Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
the full name of the band? So folks can make sure to look for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you still play solo too, right? Like you'll do a kind of a stripped down gig
Most of
here and
my
there.
shows are solo. I actually
Most
play at
are.
the Driscoll every Monday night solo,
Yeah.
which is super fun. I love that. It's a great gig. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, that's kind of the thing, is like I wanted some way to differentiate, like when I'm playing solo or when I'm with a band, like without saying like Brian Wolf full band like I was doing for a while,
Yeah.
like, which is fine. It gets the message across, but I really wanted something more exciting, and it took us a while, and took me a lot of um, maybe getting used to like being on the money or being on the nose about the name thing, Brian
Mhm.
Wolf and the Howlers. But I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
So
no, I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Um, let's see. So you're recording music now. What's the plan for that getting to our ears, and how are you going to release it? Are you going to do, because everyone's kind of doing it a different way these days. They're like, some people are just trickling out songs, which is cool. Some people drop the whole EP. What's your plan?
I'll probably trickle out one or two songs first and release the EP in the fall, I
Oh,
think is what
nice.
I'm gonna do. But I'm not totally positive. But I think it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like this interesting thing, thinking about like the marketing stuff of it. I went to college for marketing, so like my brain sort of works in that way, and
Yeah,
in a way that I'm thankful for, and also it's probably good and bad, I guess. But
everything.
yeah, like everything. But um I kind of like I think these songs are special, and I think that they maybe deserve a little bit more than just like, okay, we're going to release them on this one day and then it's over,
Yeah, yeah,
like, so I think that's why I'm going to try to space it out a little bit more, and
yeah.
kind of give a few songs like a little bit more time to just kind of be their own thing.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I would think, gosh, you spend so much time. I mean, just to write a song, I feel like is a really huge deal. Then to write as many songs as you've written and then record them and all that whole process. Yeah, I would want to make it as special as possible and make sure that each one sort of gets, the flight that it deserves to get,
Yeah, I hope so. I
It's
mean,
so
it's,
special.
yeah, like, I think the hope is to kind of build up to the release of the whole thing, and make that just like, okay, we've released these couple singles. Hope you
Yeah,
like those. Here's the big show, like, and hope that that is like a big moment for not just us, Like hopefully
yeah,
other people have been drawn in, and we've got a nice big party going on.
yeah. Well, I'm there.
Please, yeah, let's party.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, music is so it's such a it's so crazy because it's kind of like having a baby. Like it's so common, right? I mean, it's literally happening right now as we speak. Babies are taking their first breaths all over the world. Um, And so we're so used to it, it's like so special though when it happens to you, and it's a miracle, and it's just so deep. It's such a deep, deep experience. Music is kind of the same to me, at least. Like we hear it all the time. You jump in your car, the radio's on, something's playing. Rarely do we really think about what it took for that person that's singing on your radio, whether you know them or not, like what it took to create that piece of art. It's art. I mean, that's what I think about. I don't know that everybody thinks that way, but I feel like, yeah, and all of the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into the life of the person that created that. Like, that's so interesting to me, you know?
It is, and that's kind of like a pretty uh deep idea, but like it's there in like everything that we consume all the time, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every TV show you ever watch, every like 30-second commercial took days to make, you know, and like some of the best brightest people in the world working on it, you know? Like
Yeah.
it is nuts when you start thinking about it that way.
I
But
know.
yeah, not that's not just music, but it's
Everything.
but I think it definitely does apply to music for sure. What you're talking about, but it's like I don't know. I don't know if it's like I don't think it's our job at all to like make people realize that though. You know, like I think all we're trying to do is like get across what we want to get across, and like try
Mhm.
to be as true to that as possible, and just hope people connect with it. I don't think like it's like, you know, I think sometimes when you see people like post like, oh, this is how hard I worked on this thing, this is how hard
Yeah.
this was, uh it's like, okay, uh but like what's the song about, like is it good? Is it like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
like
like,
it's like,
is it gonna make me feel something?
yeah, because you know it's all about
Yeah.
emotions, I think, and
Yeah.
connection, and I think that's the thing that needs to be remembered more than like all the, you know, all the work that was put in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think you do such a great job with that. Can you talk a little bit about the song? I love the punch, the title track of your last EP. And for everyone listening, that EP is really good. He's not going to toot his own horn, but you should check out that EP. It's 5 songs. The punch, so good. And like I said, that stripped down version that you did was so just so perfect for your voice. I loved that recording.
Thank
Do you
you.
ever do that? Like when you're playing by yourself, is that pretty much kind of how that's pretty much how it sounds, right? Obviously. Good
Yeah,
sit
I mean,
down.
for sure. A lot of times it's kind of in a hotel bar or something, so like you don't
Yeah.
want to be like too uh mousy, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but that was like a situation of like, okay, this is like you've got one song at the end of this interview to play a song, and you can just like grab one of our sweetest guitars off the wall at South Austin Music, and we've got some great mics set up, and
I
you
was gonna
just
say
go.
the
Yeah.
mic
Yeah.
sounded really, really good. Whoever
Yeah.
made that mic, that was amazing.
It's I don't know what that mic was, but it was great. I need to find out. It's probably more, it probably costs more than this one, but
It was really just such
but
a sweet, sweet sound with your voice. Yeah.
thank you so much. But yeah, it's like it was such an opportunity to just kind of like just really be very very quiet and like let the song just do its thing, as opposed to like trying to like sing over anybody at a bar, you know, like
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a different experience at those, but I mean it's not that different. I mean, I think it's still me. It's I still do those songs, but they might be a little bit more upbeat in a place like that, you know, or
Yeah.
but yeah, that song, were you asking about that song, like what it means and stuff, or yeah.
Talk a little bit about what's happening in that song.
Yeah, so interestingly, during 2020, when a lot of us were scrambling to figure out how to scratch the creative itch some way, I started a podcast, called Greetings from Wherever. And I did 2 seasons of it. I haven't brought it back, but I might do it again eventually. But I had different creatives come on the show and just talk about what they create. And so there were songwriters, there were filmmakers, painters, but there were these 2 comedians that came on
Mhm.
that one of them was like really talking about how she got into it. Um, And it was a really inspiring and sad story. Really, is just like, she was talking about how she got bullied as a kid a lot, and because she was like always a little bit, she was bigger as a kid, so of course that makes somebody a target a lot of times.
Mm.
But and I could relate to that. um I've got broad shoulders, but you know it's she kind of talked about how she would like tell jokes to beat them to it, right? Like
Right.
to because if they were laughing, they couldn't hurt her, and they probably wouldn't make fun of her more if like she was making them laugh.
Right.
So that was sort of a self-defense thing, and I just thought about how sad but profound that was, and how also how beautiful it is that she took that and made something awesome, which is her comedy now out of it. Like she built this whole life around that.
Yeah.
And like it's like really sad where they came from, and just absolute like being bullied is hell. I can attest to that. But it's so there was a lot of me relating to her story, and how I started playing guitar probably for similar reasons. I never really thought about it in that
Mhm.
way, but kind of as a way to find my place. And so yeah, just a lot of thoughts about those things and my own experience.
It's well crafted,
Thank you.
beautifully sung. I really love that song.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, let's talk a little bit about Brian as a kid.
All right.
What kind of kid were you?
I mean, I played every sport there was,
Yeah.
just in the most mediocre fashion you can imagine.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of love that more.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know if you remember like the coaches award, which was like always given to like the one that hustled the most that wasn't that good. That was me.
I like you more. I love that. So
um
cute.
but
Yeah.
I did a lot of stuff as a kid. I mean, I got into like singing. I think my first experience with that was singing in choir in church, and kind of realizing I really liked that. And then kind of I picked up trumpet in elementary school, um, did that for a few years, and then decided I really liked to sing more, and kind of switched over to chorus.
Hard to do when you're playing the trumpet.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Can't do both. I'd love to see
No.
it. I'd love to see it. Um, but it's yeah. But then I kind of realized I liked singing, and there was a garage sale going on in my neighborhood, and somebody down the street was selling a guitar that looked like Angus Young's guitar. It was such like a cheap knockoff of like
Yeah.
a Gibson SG, but um, for like $75, and I had like my paper route money, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna buy this thing and learn how to play it, and that just turned into like what I do now. It's like kind of
Is that
wild how that was.
crazy? Is
Yeah.
that crazy for you to think back on your life and be like, I actually did it?
I mean, I guess yeah, it is crazy. I mean, it's yeah, that is nuts, but it's just one of those things like that was such a big moment too, of just like that guitar had to be there in that moment. I had to like have the paper route money to work with, and the like, and just that moment of like Wayne's World, like she will be mine, like and I just had to do like that. Just turned into like, okay, this is what I like now. I want to play guitar and I want to be in a band. And
Yeah.
my brother played drums, and the kid down the street played bass, Chris Ellsbury, and we just kind of started a little three-piece band and just made a lot of terrible noise, I think. But
What were you called?
oh, this is great. Are you ready? Hard Nova. Yep. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Where do I begin on that?
You don't.
No, just leave it alone. Hard Nova.
Hard Nova. We, we were just we were trying to play like all that stuff I liked back then,
What year
like
is this? Give us some frame of reference ish.
okay, this is 2002
Okay.
probably.
Okay.
2003 in that range. I was 14, 15, something like that. We had a band for a couple of years. We had Hard Nova for probably 3 or 4 years, and it
Did
was
you
just
get
a
t-shirts made or any kind of
oh,
merch?
my
Okay.
mom made shirts. It was
I
great.
was gonna
Yeah,
say
it
even
was
better.
great. Yeah, yeah, it was great. Some people still have them. I've yeah, I think I have one somewhere in my parents' house. But
I
it's
love that. What an
good memories.
awesome piece of your memory lane to have that.
Something I don't talk about that much for sure. You got that
Well,
out of me.
I am glad we are airing out and opening it up. Only the best for my listeners.
Yes. But that I mean, it was great. It was such a great way to just kind of uh be like be bad at something until we finally started to get pretty good at like it was
Yeah.
but like we had that space to like just be loudly bad at something in my parents' basement
Yeah.
and
Like no expectation to be anything other than what you were going to be at 14, 15 years old. I
yeah,
mean, zero expectation,
like
right?
we're both trying to sing but like our voices are cracking like
Right.
it was perfectly bad, and but I say that but like it was so important so it's not like
Oh,
it's I don't regret it at all, but it's just like funny objectively, like to listen back to it now and just be like, oh wow.
yeah. I think it's absolutely beautiful and kind of like that quintessential boys and girls kind of journey through this part of like this kind of kid and this kind of person that's young now and is going to be older, and maybe this is the vector in which they sort of follow. It's quintessential. I mean, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect the way
I
that it
mean, it
was.
had to happen that way, you know. There's
Yeah.
no other way.
I mean, just the fact that like the guitar was there and you were like, hey, I want that. I mean, that we could apply that in all of our lives. It's like, you know, with that movie Sliding Doors, like you never know. You kind of have to just surrender and believe, if you choose to, that it's either fate or it's just all has to be perfect no matter what, because this is the way that it is.
Yeah,
This is the way it was meant to be.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to think about those times and just
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of stopped. I thought I was gonna get into like I thought I was gonna like really get hardcore into tennis because that was the first sport I actually like was like okay, I'm a
Nice.
little bit better than just like mediocre at this. And
Yeah.
like I was never like great at it, but like just a little bit better than mediocre. So maybe I could play college tennis and see what
Yeah.
happens. And like I just got really, really into that and not so into music and kind of stopped for a while. And then college hit and some tragic stuff happened in my family. We lost my brother. Um, and that was really sad. But one way I coped with that in college was to start writing music, and something I hadn't really done since Hard Nova,
Wow.
and really trying to process those things and like using music as therapy, which is not something I never went to therapy, as a kid or anything, so I wasn't familiar with that side of things, but like unknowingly like sort of using this process to process those things and figure out how to move forward and but also
Mhm.
remember and take in everything and that became really important and just a reason maybe why I'm the writer I am now because I think like I've just always been trying to write about stuff that's like hard to write about, that's it's but it's real and I think that's like something that's always been um, a friend to me is like music and songwriting and stuff, and I think when I kind of learned that like I played like an open mic in college or something and played one of those songs and just said what it was about and people really connected with it and I was just like oh maybe like there is something here like maybe I don't need to just play these songs in my dorm room maybe like I should try playing these out and not just keep them to myself. And that kind of turned into like a new direction for me of just trying to write songs that like really take taking everything that I was going through at whatever time it was and just put it all out there.
Yeah. It sounds like when this happened with your brother and you kind of re-entered the music, maybe in a more serious way, you jumped right into very deep waters because that's the water everyone around you was swimming in.
Yeah,
And you got real
absolutely.
comfortable in that water and you kind of sounds like you never really left and you got real like this is, like now you're just in it. Because
Now
that
I'm just
is
in the
that
water.
is yeah, hanging out in the deep end. Legs are getting a little tired. Grab a noodle.
All right, thank you, thank you.
I'll toss you a noodle. Wouldn't that be funny if I had a noodle and I could like toss it?
Please, yeah. Oh, thanks. Next time we got to
I'll
work
have
on
to
that. Yeah,
Photoshop a noodle.
yeah, yeah.
Like hand it.
Yes. Thank you. Perfect.
But seriously though, you do have such a gift. And isn't vulnerability so freaking powerful?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Do
it's
you feel like you're being vulnerable still at this point when you're singing and even in your writing?
yes, I think especially in my writing. I think it's interesting because I think when I'm writing stuff, I'm fully feeling that thing and like really trying to get it out there.
Mhm.
And then I think it's kind of for me at least, like when the song's done and I start playing it out and like
Mm.
I played it out a few times, they kind of just turn into songs
Yeah.
as opposed to like I have to go through that thing every
Yeah.
time, which is
Mhm.
such a I mean, like I couldn't imagine, yeah, like constantly
Weeping.
going through all those things. And there are times when something will come up and a certain song will hit me harder than it usually does because of
Sure.
something going on in my life or a memory that hit or something. But so like, yeah, I do think I'm being vulnerable, especially when I'm writing. And I think and I probably am when I'm singing the songs live too, but like just not like actively, I guess, like
Well, comfortable, like
yeah.
you're slipping into like vulnerability 2.0.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I try to tell stories about the songs when I get to do like singer-songwriter kind of shows.
Yeah.
And that um usually I try to be funny in those moments, but also um like I've got a song about dating apps that will probably be the next single.
I love it.
And so usually I'll just trash on dating apps for a little bit and and start the song. But I'm probably not going to get any sponsorships from Tinder or Bumble or anything, but it's all right.
You never know, maybe in a very ironic way.
Yeah.
Hey, Bumble, do you like our irony? Have
Yeah, how
I got
about
a
that?
song for you?
Yes. But I like, sometimes I'll tell a funny dating story or something,
Yeah.
Um but
Yeah.
it's just like yeah, so I think I try to be vulnerable, especially in those situations, but if it's like I'm playing at a hotel bar and people are just trying to have a drink after work or something, like
You're not
I'm
like,
not going to
hey,
be like, "Hey, here's everything that I've gone through," and like it's like no, I'm just going to play the songs.
just play the song. Read the room, Brian.
I got to read the room. Have you guys ever thought about how hard my life is?
And when I was 4. Oh, I can't wait. We are all so excited to come to your next show.
Yes. Yes, please do.
Actually, speaking of that, when are you so you have a great website where you say all your shows. So I'm going off of memory because I barely, I prepare, but I don't over prepare. So it's
No, that's good.
brianwolf.com, right?
Yeah, BrianWolfMusic.com, yeah. Yeah.
brianwolfmusic.com. Okay, great.
And that's Wolf with 2 F's, but you can probably see that on your screen right now
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
it is
watching.
two
Yeah.
apps. I think
Yeah.
that's cool. And then on Instagram, it's I didn't write that down either. What is it?
Oh, it's Brian Wolf Music pretty
It's
much
Brian Wolf.
everywhere.
So
Yeah.
pretty much everywhere. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want people to follow you so they can find out where you're playing and keep up with you. But this episode will air next week. So 15 plus 7 is 22. It's going to air on my first anniversary of this show.
Oh, that's great.
So
Look at
yay.
that. That's so
Happy
cool.
first anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Very exciting.
Nice.
But what do you have on tap for gigs here in Austin?
Well, Driscoll every Monday.
Yeah,
That's become a really fun thing.
I love that.
And then a few South by things.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can.
That's
They haven't
fine.
been announced yet, so I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I should.
Yeah, don't.
But I'm really excited about them, and people should definitely check it out on social media or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll probably find out I can announce it tomorrow, and then be like, why was I weird about that? But
Totally
it'll be
understand.
fun. There's some
Yeah.
exciting stuff on the horizon, and then just I think I'll probably try to do a show for each of the single
Yeah.
releases that come out. Probably try to play at some kind of venue around town.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of good stuff going. I've got a really good feeling about this year.
Yeah, I do too with you. You have such a wonderful, positive energy about you, just like so much goodness on top of being ridiculously talented and singing and songwriting and all of that. So I feel really lucky to have met you and become aware of what you're doing. And it's just nothing but support from this corner of the world over here.
Thank you so much, and I just want to thank you too for just creating this platform to highlight musicians in town. I think that's a really important thing that happens. So thank you
Mm.
for doing that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Well, you're welcome. And it's such a pleasure. I absolutely love talking to people like yourself doing what you do. You are so special. And you're so special to so many people that you'll never even hear from. And I think, and I hope that that you guys know that, because you're in our ears. We let you in our ears and between our ears, which is a really like that's really special. And so sometimes people don't have that. I mean, now with social media, you can interact with fans and you can interact with people way more than probably ever. But um, yeah, I just absolutely love holding up the microphone for you guys.
Well, thank you. It means a lot.
Just call me a mic stand.
If you ever start a second show, that's what it should be
Be
called.
called mic stand.
The
I
mic
think
stand.
when I was a kid, total off the whatever, I think there was like we were really into like the youth group in our church and everything, and there was like a Christian rock singer and his name was Mike Stand.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Oh
can you
boy.
imagine? Like,
Yeah. Jeez.
I think he was
Well,
good.
hope he's doing well.
Still
God bless
standing.
him.
Good idea. Anyway, all right. Brian Wolff, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure. I just adore you and I love what you're doing. I'm so excited for what's on the horizon.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for another episode of the Austin Downbeat. I'm Kat, your host, and that is Brian Wolff. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.